If you're not already subscribed to this YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button now, along with the bell icon so you can be notified whenever a new video is posted. And if you're already subscribed, check and make sure that YouTube hasn't unsubscribed you. And of course, be sure to give the video a like, as well as share it on your social media. The white supremacists hate that. Now, that said, white supremacy is based on a lie that is very delicately and precariously balanced. White supremacy requires that the lie be left completely alone. Any small thing could topple it. We are threatening that delicate balance, and it's not by accident. We're doing this deliberately. We understand that white supremacy is a satanic covenant between the white elite and the dominant society, which includes a number of non-white entities. This covenant is based on a system of goodies, giveaways, and guarantees for those classified as white. But it's also predicated on the idea that the people who are oppressed do not threaten this system. Now, how do you get a group of people to actually be keyed in for oppression for the long haul? Well, you've got to make it where these people are going to be reluctant, if not outright opposed, to toppling the very system that oppresses them. There's only one way to topple any system of oppression, and that is forcefully. You cannot bring down a system of evil nicely. You're not going to have it done quietly. There's not going to be a peaceful transition from oppression to justice. You're going to have to make some noise and make a mess. You're going to have to make the system unworkable to the point where people have to understand the only way there's going to ever be peace and quiet is when there is first justice. And that is what brings us to the current fight for black empowerment that's now heated up. Recently, the rapper Ice Cube has been making a lot of people very unhappy because he has simply said the common sense facts when it comes to politics, which happens to be we are not going to be politically monogamous. There is no way in the world that the Jews would have what they have by being politically monogamous. AIPAC demands the obedience of both political parties. But with black people, on the other hand, we're supposed to be frozen in place like a potted plant, waiting to see what the Democrats do. And, well, we got to wait for them. And if they say they can't do it, well, that's all there is. And Ice Cube saying, no, as black people, we happen to be a group. And groups don't have friends. Groups have interests. And we have every right to promote those interests no matter who doesn't like it. Well, enter the black cable bootlicks. Their job is supposed to be the black faces spouting the white lies. See, you can't get a whole bunch of the white newscasters and cable personalities out there to trash Ice Cube, which is what they really want. So instead, you get some black ones to do it. But they're stuck on the horns of a dilemma because these guys have largely invalidated themselves. You, of course, have had the usual suspects, the roly-poly Martins and such, but it was only a matter of time before this weekend arrived and Joy Reid's little side show, her little feculent sewer over there on MSNBC, decided to take some pot shots. And it was the usual gallery of rogues, the same Negroes who are utterly dependent on the white media to put them on the air so they can get some speaking fees for showing up on this or that show. And of course, one of their little side fringe benefits is, hey, you show up on this white cable news show and this will give you the ability to have a book deal. Not that anybody will buy the books, but you can go ahead and pimp your little books on our show. And to them, they feel like big shots. They feel like they're on the inside track. They're power brokers. They're the ones whose opinion matters, except they're finding out that they're talking, they're slamming their gums, but nobody is listening. And it was just like when Joy Reid had on Big Bird to call himself talking about his little organization in Cobra, one of those professional do-nothing organizations. Ain't accomplished nothing, ain't done nothing, ain't achieved nothing, not going to do anything. Well, now they had on another handful of nobodies who have not accomplished anything, but that's the whole point. These are the reliable Negroes who white supremacy's got on the dole, and they can be relied on to say whatever it is the white power needs them to say at the moment. The vast majority of black people are political pragmatists. They agree with Ice Cube. They support him. They're cheering him, especially the black grassroots. The young black people, they're with him. But you know who's not? The black bootlicks who depend on white supremacy for every crumb of their daily bread. So when you see BSNBC having a segment saying Ice Cube's come under fire for contributing to Trump plan, when they claim he's coming under fire, they're the ones who he's coming under fire from. He's certainly not coming under fire from the majority of black people, black voters in this country. They're with him, especially the young black voters. So what you have are the would-be black elites, the fraternity sorority deadbeats. You've got these political dead-enders, these bootlicks who are desperately pining away for a white job, trying to see if they can con us into thinking that their insignificant handful of whiners somehow represents the broad black opinion, when the truth of the matter is this is just a bunch of dependents of white supremacy who are trying to figure out how to do their master's bidding and make it seem like they've got more support than just a handful of thwarted talking heads on cable TV. They want to seem like they're more than just a handful of do-nothing pundits who sit around telling each other how great thou art. These are the ones who are taking aim at Ice Cube, but of course, they're over here with a freaking zip gun trying to sink an aircraft carrier, and it just ain't working. Now, the first person who they had on was somebody named Jamil Smith. He's one of these nobodies who nobody's ever heard of, one of these reliable Negroes who'll sell the soap. And the entire tone and tenor of this was going to be the spit on Ice Cube hour. It was going to be just attacking him. Now, they don't disprove anything that he says. You'll notice that. They don't actually disprove anything, don't even discredit it. They just say, well, you need to wait on Biden. That's some of that church talk. Wait on Jesus. We're going to wait on Biden. Wait on that white man, because the white man is God. And this is what they were doing. This is just basically nothing more than an unabashed, open attack on Ice Cube for putting black interests first. Ice Cube didn't say vote GOP. He didn't say vote Republican. What he said is that our vote is up for sale. It goes to the highest bidder. And what you got these other clowns saying is, yeah, but the Republicans ain't looking to put us on the payroll, so we need to stick with these Democrats, and hopefully they'll give us a job if we can keep you Negroes corralled. So let's hear what this Jamil Smith character had to say as part of his opening salvo against Ice Cube for the crime of actually demanding something for the black vote.
Well, my takeaway, Tiffany, is that in that effort to center black folks at in the economy of ideas, he is unfortunately equating the wrongs of both sides of the political equation. He is saying Democrats have done us wrong, Republicans have done us wrong, and thus we need to, essentially divest ourselves of both of them until they earn our vote.
Okay, and what's the problem with that? Democrats have done black people wrong. Last time I checked, it was a Democrat, Joe Biden, who authored the '94 crime bill. Last time I checked, it was Kamala Harris who was leading the charge to lock up black folks in California and laughing all the while she was doing it. It was also Kamala Harris who refused, not merely feigned powerlessness, but she was like, oh, I could prosecute all these cops who were killing black people, but I'm not going to do it. These are Democrats doing this stuff. Barack Obama was president. What the hell did he do about the murder of Sandra Bland? What the hell did he do about the murder of Oscar Grant? What the hell did he do about the murder of Trayvon Martin? Or Tamir Rice? Or Eric Garner? Or Michael Brown? Those all happened on Barack Obama's watch. And who was vice president at that time? Joe Biden. So to simply say that, well, the Democrats have done us wrong, the Republicans have done wrong, well, this is a false equivalency. No, ain't nothing false about it. He's telling the doggone truth. Both political parties have the exact same policy where black people are concerned. Neither one of them has done right by us. That's just a fact. There's nothing to argue with there. That's the reason why he didn't argue the point, because you can't argue it, because those are the facts. When it comes to black people and when it comes to protecting the police who murder black people, there has been a complete and thorough consistency of policy where Democrats and Republicans are concerned. It was in May 2015, at the height of the Democrat primary season, that Barack Obama signed his Blue Alert executive order. And what that did was that's supposed to be letting the police know, this is supposed to get those police union votes. That was a Democrat who did that. And the Republicans were doing similar measures at the state level, but the point is the Democrats were not signing laws meant to punish the police for harming black people. Instead, they were signing laws that were meant to make it clear that the police, we're going to give them even more immunity under law. I mean, you can't give them any more than they have, but this was mostly supposed to be a pat on the back to the police and supposed to be making it known the Democrats are squarely in the corner of the thugs with badges. How is that any different than what the Republicans were doing? How is that any different than what George Bush did? How is that any different than what every other Republican was proposing? Where's the difference here? I'm waiting for someone to tell me where Ice Cube was wrong. If we're going to argue against his positions, you need to tell me where he was wrong. And yes, when you have had 150 plus years of both political parties using and abusing black people, and one in particular who has put an enormous amount of propaganda into the lie that somehow they are for us when they've done practically nothing for us in the last 50 years, been doing nothing but undermining and attacking us and leaving us out to dry, yeah, at that point, you got some fence mending to do. You got to earn this vote because you ain't done a dang thing to earn it in 3 generations. So yeah, you're going to have to earn this vote because you've been sitting on your doggone hands when you haven't been attacking us, that is. Oh, but this panel, as far as they're concerned, that's an unreasonable request. What, you expect something for your vote? But Jamil Smith, who I'm sure if you look without much effort, you'll find that this guy clearly is some sort of Democratic operative at the state or county level. So I'm sure he's just pining away for a political office, just like John Lewis. John Lewis is doing the same kind of crap in the late 60s, early 70s before he got to Congress. So obviously this chump's auditioning for a job. All these chuckleheads are auditioning for a job. They all want a cable TV news gig. They're all hoping to get some sort of political patronage job. Please make me a press secretary. Please make me a White House staffer. Please give me a staff position with somebody's campaign. Pull me out of the cable news ghetto, that with the occasional appearance fee that I get. Please call me up to the majors. All of them are auditioning for a job. But first, they got to prove how effective they are at getting black people to sit on our hands and do as we're told and get nothing in return. You got to show that you can support white supremacy and keep these niggas from starting to get ambitious and demanding anything that requires white supremacy to give up any of its power. Prove to us that you can control the niggas. So anyone who comes along making black empowerment demands, well, you got to attack them. Tell everybody that they're unreasonable. Tell everybody that these guys don't know what they're talking about and what they're saying is wrong. I mean, listen to what this clown says next. See how stupid this is, because no, they don't talk to any other group like this. But listen to what this clown says next.
Essentially, we got less than 20 days until this election. How are they going to earn our votes? Well, Joe Biden can't propose legislation right now in order to earn our votes. What is he going to say?
This guy is so busy trying to push the talking point that they all agreed on, that they got straight before the broadcast even began. Make sure to tell black people, don't expect anything for the Democrats. Don't ask anything. Don't put any pressure on the Democrats. Do not pressure them to do anything for black people. Stop pressuring them. That's the talking point. That's the directive that they were given. Tell black people to stop pressuring the Democrats. So what he does is he uses an asinine straw man, and he's not even doing a good job of it. So his straw man lie is, well, we've only got 20 days to the election. Biden can't propose any legislation. You heard what he said. He said Biden can't propose legislation. Yes, he can. You can propose anything you want. Now, if he's talking about passing legislation, sure. Nobody expects Biden to pass legislation right this very moment. Certainly not with the Democrats only in control of the House and not the Senate. But this is the entire point that Ice Cube's making. See, Donald Trump was proposing legislation and what he was going to get done before he took office. That's why he's in the presidency now. What is Joe Biden proposing for black people? He ain't proposing anything. If Democrats want us to hand them the White House and the Senate, they will have to make concrete proposals, make open pledges. That way they're handcuffed to that position and they can't easily walk away from it. Will they publicly pledge to do what we've been demanding they do for 150 years? This guy says, well, Joe Biden, he can't propose legislation. That's a bald-faced lie. He can propose legislation. But this guy's saying is don't tell him to propose anything. Yeah, sure. You don't want to make angry or antagonize all of those white, right of center, read casual racist voters that Joe Biden and Rahm Emanuel and the DNC are trying to attract right now. You don't want to antagonize them because that's the goal. The goal is for the Democrats to put together a new voter coalition that doesn't include all of these demanding black people, all these black people who are making demands, all these uppity niggas. Oh, you're going to hear that later on the broadcast. There's going to be one guy who openly admits that Joe Biden has put together a coalition that can get him to the White House without black men voting for him. And this guy's saying it with pride. You're going to hear that in a moment. These guys are proud of the idea. These are black people proud of the idea that black folks could be politically neutralized. That black people could be made politically irrelevant. The prospect of black people being politically and thoroughly irrelevant and neutralized, that's a threat to white supremacy that's been neutralized. And these clowns, they identify with white supremacy's goals, not with black empowerment. This is who MSNBC puts on to tell lies. Oh, you can't expect anything from Joe Biden. He can't even propose anything. But you see that this is what counts as black experts. The white media calls them black experts. Experts in what? Professional white supremacist butt kissing? Kissing the white media's behind? That's the only thing that they're experts at. You only tell this level of lies when you either think that black people are so dumb and politically naive and immature that you can get away with it, that they don't have the ability to scrutinize you, or when you get to the point where the black folks have become so out of pocket, so out of control with their demands that you're looking so, well, oh, screw it. We might as well just go ahead and lie big because the situation can't get any worse for us.
And I think, frankly, I thought his approach to Ice Cube as Ice Cube described it to me seemed to make sense. He said he agreed with 85% of the plan and said he would address the plan after he's elected, if he's elected. To me, that makes practical sense. He says, I'm going to act upon these objectives if I'm president. That to me says, I'm not going to promise you what I can't deliver.
Now that's 3 lies for the price of 1. And notice how this Jamil Smith character comes up with the weasel words. First, he says that Biden said that he would address the plan after the election. He ain't going to do anything before the election. No pledges, no promises. Don't hold me to nothing before the election. You just need to vote for me. I'm not going to promise you anything. I'm certainly not going to promise, but we'll address it after the election. We will address it. Then later on in the exact same sentence, he says Biden says he would act on it. Family, first of all, Biden has not said he's going to act on anything. I already covered his so-called plan for Black America in my last video, and it's the same old trick bag of initiatives for minorities, which means white women and non-black groups, and people of color, which means non-black groups. And this guy says that we should vote for a candidate who has made no concrete promises or pledges to us. And he says that's practical. That's practical. That's practical. Practical, yeah, it's a recipe for nothing, which is exactly what we've been getting. It's a recipe to get nothing. You reward a politician for the campaign promises that they make by putting them in office. You do not reward them for telling you what they can't do. Biden can't make any pledges. He can't make any proposals right now. He can't make no proposals. So what do you want him to do? He can't make no proposals. Well, I can't reward him for not making any proposals. When you're a candidate, that's your job. Your job is to tell people, here's what I propose that I'm going to do for you. And this Jamil Smith says, well, Biden can't make no proposals. You can't be holding him to nothing. That ain't practical. Stupid. That's how elections work. The candidate comes to you and you say, what do you propose for policy? And based on the strength of your proposal, I'll decide whether or not to support you in the election. That's how it works. This guy's saying, no, just vote for him. You don't need to see no plans. You don't need to hear none. Just vote for him. Wait until after the election. That's practical. Wait until after the election. Well, that's what we as black voters are going to do for Biden then. So Jamil Smith, because I know you little narcissist on MSNBC, because nobody pays attention to you, everybody ignores you. So I know that just like Jason Jackass Johnson does, you clowns scour the internet to see if anybody's talking about you. I'm going to talk about you like a dog. But here's something for you to know, Mr. Smith. Your proposal that black folks need to vote for Biden and wait till after the election to see what he does. He agrees with 85% of what Ice Cube was saying. Well, that's what we as black voters are going to do in regards to Biden. We're going to have a reciprocal policy for your boy Biden. We agree with 85% of what Biden claims that he's going to do for us. And you know what? We will address that voting thing, whether or not we're going to vote for him. We will address that after the election. Oh, you want us to vote for Biden? Well, we agree with 85% of what Biden claims he's going to do for us, but we will act on electing him. We will act on voting for him after the election. Come back to us after the election and we'll tell you what we can actually do. Look, you can't ask us to do anything right now. I mean, it's not even voting day. In a lot of the nation, it's not even time for early voting yet. So you can't actually ask us to vote for Biden at this point. Come back to us after the election and then ask for our vote. Hey, we agree with 85% of what you say. You see how that sounds. See, they're not saying that we should wait until after election day to address whether or not we'll vote for Biden. No, you got to do that now. But there's no proposals. Well, you can't ask for proposals. That's not practical. Well, asking us to vote for you before the election, asking us to vote for you before the count has been tallied. No. We got to wait until after the election before we can vote for you. Demanding our vote now, that's simply not practical. Jamil Smith, that ain't practical. Yet you see how it is when we decide that there's going to be a reciprocal policy for these candidates. All of a sudden you're looking at them and they're going, well, after the election, it's too late. Yeah, after the election, it's too late for us to hold you to any sort of pledges if you haven't made any promises to begin with. It's too late to extract a pledge from you after you've already gotten the prize that you were striving for. Because everybody knows the power of incumbency. Once you've got the elected office, you are the face of that office, and that gives you a lot of influence with the voters because you are the face of that office temporarily, but you're the face of it. Too late to be getting pledges and promises from the candidate after the election. You got to get that stuff locked down before. And you got these black mouthpieces telling black folks, how dare you demand anything of Joe Biden? How dare you? That's not practical. You're out of line to be demanding anything. You shouldn't be demanding. Yeah, we shouldn't. Black people shouldn't be demanding anything. The gays can make demands. The Jews can make demands. The immigrants, in fact, illegal aliens can make demands. In California, they're going to be handing out all sorts of money and all sorts of economic initiatives for illegal aliens, people who are not even supposed to be here, people illegally in the country. They got money for them, and these people, you see, they can make demands, but black people, you shouldn't be demanding anything. What, you expect them to do something for you? So you see Kamala Harris's talking point. You see how that is being used across the board. What? You think Biden's supposed to do something that only benefits black people? No, you just need to show up and vote. Now, the next person to speak was some Democratic pollster named Terrence Woodbury. Again, one of these guys who you never heard of, but his entire spiel, at least he was talking from a place of reality. But he also gave a very telling confession. This is a Democratic pollster, and his job is supposed to be to read the tea leaves for the Democrats, which begs the question why he didn't see all this coming and why he seems to have no answers for it. But listen to what he says regarding Joe Biden's voter coalition. Remember, this guy previously, I'm not going to play the whole clip for you, but what he'd been saying up to this point is that basically Donald Trump hasn't been making huge inroads with black male voters, which is true. Because Donald Trump basically ain't stepping up with aggressive policies and pledges for us. He's basically trying to see if he can get away with lip service. And what he's finding out is while you will at least have somebody say we're open to you making solid pledges. But the thing is, that's the thing. Trump's not making any solid pledges either. But then again, Trump is not the one who needs black male voters to retain his power. Biden's the one who needs them. But this guy, he gives a very telling confession about the DNC's non-black voter strategy that they're now trying to pursue and how that could be fatal for all of those down ballot races, which is why you got people like A-dunce trying to tell you, well, you need to go vote. There's a lot of down ballot races. There's a lot of down ballot races. Listen to what this guy, Terrence Woodbury, has to say about that.
And what concerns me the most, because Joe Biden has put together a coalition that I do think can deliver him to victory, even if he gets 75 to 80% of the black male votes. But that will not deliver the Senate. Gary Peters cannot win Michigan with 75% of black men's votes.
And there you have it. You see, in order for the Democrats to be able to keep a lot of those white leftists who they're supposed to be carrying water for, that's who their true constituency is. All these white people that are ideologically aligned with the Democrats' professed positions. In order to keep them happy, the Democrats need to get the White House, but they also got to be in a position to enact policies, especially after 4 years of Trump. They got to be able to repudiate this guy by putting laws in the books. Say, we're going to erase everything that Donald Trump did. Oh, we're going to erase his presidency. Okay, fine, but you're not erasing anything unless you can have both the House and the Senate. And that being the case, the idea of a clean sweep is a dream. That's a pipe dream. You're going to need enthusiastic black turnout in order to do that. And what's happening is you got black men leading the charge and black women also following suit. And both black men and black women are saying together, wait a minute here. We're not supposed to be doing some job program for the Democrats. You need to tell us what the hell we're going to get. What's in it for us? Well, you've already had that first guy, Jamil Smith, tell you, well, ain't nothing in it for you. Why? They don't owe you any promises. You need to just vote for him and see what happens after the election. Okay, I got a better idea. I'll stay home and let's see what happens after the election. But this Woodbury, you heard what he just said. Joe Biden's put together a voter coalition that can get him into the White House even without black men's support. But of course, what goes unsaid is the plan is if black women break bad, well, hopefully we'll have enough of those casual racist read white moderate votes or white right of center votes that we can get to the White House regardless. And you don't see anyone saying, well, gee, if the Democrats are able to get into the White House by ignoring black people's concerns, well, gee, why should black people vote for a political party at all when this political party is clearly, openly pursuing a policy, a political strategy of making the black vote irrelevant? And of course, you have to point out that, gee, the Democrats didn't want to make the black vote irrelevant or find a way to circumvent the black vote until black folks started putting their foot down and making concrete demands about tangibles. Now, all of a sudden, the Democrats are like, we need a new constituency. These niggers have broken bad on us. Nobody talks about that. They don't bring that up. See, this is supposed to be a show geared toward and aimed at black people. But look at how they talk. They talk like every anti-black white pundit that you ever heard. They have no problem at all with the idea that black people should be politically irrelevant. They have no problem with that at all. As far as they're concerned, their allegiance is to the greater glory of the white political bigwigs of the Democratic Party because that's how they get their daily bread. That's who signs their paycheck. So as far as they're concerned, they've already put all their chips on team white supremacy. It doesn't matter if it's the left wing or the right wing of it, long as you ain't with these niggers. This is what's supposed to be counting as the black experts who call themselves attacking Ice Cube. This is what they come up with. Not bothered at all by the Democrats coldly plotting how they are going to make black people politically irrelevant. That's a bombshell, but you wouldn't know it by the way they reacted. They don't seem to have any concern about it at all because they don't have any concern. These clowns have as much contempt for black people as the most dyed-in-the-wool racist Republican. So why am I supposed to be voting Democrat again? This guy's a Democratic pollster, this Woodbury character. And he just got through saying with his own mouth, Joe Biden's put together a coalition that doesn't rely on black voters. So that being the case, why are we talking about what Joe Biden's even going to be doing for black people? He clearly is trying to pursue a political strategy that makes it where he can ignore what black people think. If he can get to the White House without black people's support, why should he do anything? Why should he do anything for us if he can get there to the White House without us? And this is coming off of MSNBC, of all places. But he then adds to that they're never going to be able to get anything done without having the Senate, and that they do need black votes for. But here's my question. You have to balance the taken with the given. If Joe Biden is pursuing a policy, if the guy running for the highest office in the land is trying to figure out how he can do a political triangulation, a political bank shot, that helps him to circumvent having to go to black people for anything, then are we supposed to be silly enough to believe that all those down ballot candidates are not pursuing the exact same strategy? We know that the DNC leadership hands out the talking points and tells them, here's what you need to do. You want some DNC money? Here's how you better go about things. We already know that they do that. What, Joe Biden is trying to circumvent the black vote, but the rest of these down ballot candidates are not? Get the hell out of here. Joe Biden is making it very clear that at the presidential level, they're going to be pursuing a non-black voter coalition. And what that means is at the local, county, and state level, okay, guys, it's time to start edging these niggers out. That's what's going on here. This is the complete and thorough marginalization of the black vote if they can swing it. And you got these black talking heads on Joy Reid's little side show who are smiling and beaming and strutting and celebrating this. They think this is a good thing. I mean, Fox News couldn't have presented this crap any better. But of course, no BS jamboree would be complete without Jason Johnson throwing in his 2 cents. You know, if this clown is speaking, it must have been one hell of a stupid question. Well, here's the pearls of wisdom that he chose to drop. And keep in mind, this was nothing more, like the rest of them before him, it was nothing more than a completely naked advertisement for Joe Biden. And also an upbraiding of black people, calling themselves lecturing us about how dare we demand anything. They're using Ice Cube as a proxy for the black media and the black grassroots. They're just using Ice Cube as a proxy for all of us. Any of you Negroes out there who are making it clear that we are not going to be politically monogamous, that the election is transactional. No matter what Rahm Emanuel says, elections are a transaction. It's a business transaction. It's a business deal. And you come up to me while I'm holding something valuable and you're telling me, well, give me what you got and I'll see if I got anything to exchange with you later on down the road. No. We're going to make an exchange right here or right now, or there will be no transaction. Well, here's what Jason Johnson had to say as part of his attack against Ice Cube and the black grassroots by proxy.
Trump's goal isn't necessarily to get black men to vote for him. Trump's goal is to play into the cynicism that black men legitimately have towards this country, right? Because we've been mistreated by almost every single group of people in this country. We've been let down by the government.
Ooh, listen to Jason Johnson trying to talk like us. We've been mistreated by practically every other group of people in this country. No, it ain't by most, it's by all of them. We have been totally and thoroughly mistreated in this country as black people. And that being the case, our cynicism is justified. Tell me something I don't know. The question is, why are we so cynical? It's because we've had 2 political parties, Democrats and Republicans both, who have used us, abused us, and attacked us every which way they can. And we also have a bunch of bought and paid for bootlicks who have been sent among us by those same political parties for the sake of confusing our internal politics, misleading us, disrupting our political progress and our agendas, and trying to get us on the wrong track and trying to make white noise, pun intended. These clowns working for pennies on the dollar, all of these fakers, frauds, phonies, and fools, all of these suck-ups, sellouts, and simps, like Jason Johnson, who have been telling black people that we had friends in places that we did not. So he scores no points with me for telling the doggone common sense truth. Of course, black people, not just black men, black people in general, are cynical about this whole damn thing, and rightly so. We're admitting to the reality of the situation that we're in instead of trying to live in denial that has been promulgated and promoted by the Jason Johnsons and the Jamil Smiths and the Tiffany Crosses and the Joy Reids and the rest of the white media's black flunkies, sellouts, and bootlicks. The question is, why is it that the Democrats have not been doing what they claim they would be doing and representing black people's interests? If black people were being represented by the Democrats, if the Democrats were doing anything at all, there wouldn't be much cynicism at all. But that question never comes up. That never becomes the point. Why would that not be the point of the discussion? Because the entire idea is to do a switcheroo, is to do a pivot. And it's when you listen to what Johnson says next, here comes the pivot. Now that he goes ahead and says something that he hopes you'll agree with. Yes. Oh, yeah. Let me go ahead and say right off the bat that the black people, especially black men, are cynical. And there is reason for that because we have been used and abused by all these other groups. But you know what? That's not really important because... So listen up. Here comes the pivot.
His goal is, if I can't get your vote, I want you to be cynical enough that you don't vote at all. And I'm going to make sure that happens by, I don't know, making it harder to vote around the country.
Family, I have said this time and time again. If there is one thing that black people have proven in both 2008 and 2012, if black folks really want to vote, I mean, if we for real want to get to those polls, ain't a damn thing that the Proud Boys or Adam Waffen or the rest of these sawed-off white supremacist clowns can do to stop us. I mean, if we for real wanted to bums rush the polls, they wouldn't be able to stop us. So they're trying to tell a lie, a feel-good lie. Well, black people are scared to go to the polls. No, black people are demoralized because of the fact that we've been on a freaking treadmill with a bunch of clowns like Jason Johnson and Jamil Smith and Joy Reid, a bunch of bought-off, paid-off shills for the Democrats who get their daily bread from carrying water for their white leftist masters, telling black folks, you need to go and vote and don't make no demands. Don't be making no demands now. You can't be making no demands. That's the reason why black folks are not gung-ho to get to the polls. Donald Trump has not done anything to demoralize black voters from going to the polls because black folks didn't put any faith in him or the Republican Party. It's impossible for Trump to let us down or make us cynical because no black person's expecting anything from him. Jason Johnson's talking like a fool. But these are the kind of lies you got to engage in. This is mostly black shills talking to each other because the black grassroots, black folks in general, especially young black folks, they're listening to this stuff and going, nah, you guys are talking around the issue. And this is deliberate. They cannot afford to say, the Democrats did this. 3+ generations of the Democrats either ignoring black people or, in the case of Joe Biden, weaponizing the legislature against us and putting laws on the books meant to target us and covering for and patting the cops on the back for killing us and supporting police murders of black people. That's what has made it where black folks have said, you know what? Maybe we ain't rolling with these Democrats. Maybe we're not rolling with anybody. Because neither party has our interest at heart. He doesn't say that. Instead, he pivots from saying that black people are cynical to, Donald Trump's trying to play on that cynicism by trying to stop black people from voting. Get the hell out of here with that mess. Now, while it is true that the Republicans certainly would like it if black folks didn't vote, the truth of the matter is they don't have any say in that. You ain't got enough Kyle Rittenhouses. You ain't got enough Proud Boys to be able to stop black folks from voting if we for real wanted to mix it up and wanted to make sure that we made certain that we got our way at the polls. If black folks really wanted to bums rush those polling places, wouldn't be a damn thing they could do to stop us. So you can stop it with the lies about that. This is how the black shills for the white left feel better about their failure to corral black folks. These are the lies that they tell their white political masters. Well, it was the Republicans, you see, the Republicans. It was the Republicans. Please don't stop bringing me on MSNBC. I need them speaking fees. But of course, the Democrats want to make a big issue out of COVID-19 because that's part of their strategy to try to wear down Trump's support. And that's all well and good, but you need to leave black folks out of it because you're not thinking about black folks when it comes to health care. But because of the fact that COVID-19, bringing that up every 5 seconds is part of the Democrats' PR strategy against Trump, Jason Johnson wants to go ahead and score some brownie points by shoehorning COVID-19 into the discussion.
Not doing anything about COVID, which is killing black men at a rate higher than we died, during the Middle Passage.
Really, Jason? Black men are dying at a higher rate right now than during the Middle Passage. Man, you're doing too much, Jason. Now you're doing a little bit too much. So apparently COVID-19 is killing black people at a faster rate than the Middle Passage did. So that over 150 million black folks who died, apparently, Jason Johnson thinks that COVID-19 is on par with that. You see what kind of reaching they're doing? I mean, I'm surprised that his arms are still in their flabby little sockets with all this reaching that he's doing. And to try to link COVID-19 to chattel slavery. I mean, how doggone disrespectful must you be because he didn't link anything else to slavery? But it just goes to show these are the kind of conversations these guys have when we're not looking. You can tell what's front of mind for him. So he's shoehorning COVID into portions of black life where it doesn't even have any relevance, but it just lets you know when the cameras are off and he's talking to his white political masters, they're telling him, you got to push that COVID line. You need to make sure that the COVID really hits hard. Make sure it hits home for black people. That's our strategy. That's our major talking point, Jason. And he's sitting there going, absolutely. I'll make sure I'm going to mention COVID, whether they want to hear it or not. That's what he's doing here. So you can tell these are the kind of conversations he's had behind closed doors with his white leftist masters. This is what they've told him to get out there and say. Now, he's not talking about the rate of black people dying from police violence or white supremacist violence. He doesn't compare that to the Middle Passage. He would actually have an appropriate comparison then. You can analogize that to chattel slavery. You can certainly analogize that to the Middle Passage. He doesn't talk about that, so I guess he forgot about what the death rate was when it comes to black men dying at the hands of the police. But if Jason Johnson is really so hot and bothered about the numbers of black people, or especially black men, dying from COVID-19, why doesn't he bring up the doggone fact that with Barack Obama's healthcare plan, that still didn't help all that many black people, especially black men in particular? Black folks die from inadequate healthcare across the board at a rate far higher than everyone else. But he doesn't talk about health care in general. He talks about COVID-19 because that's the white Democrat talking point. I mean, if you're going to be trying to link healthcare disparity to chattel slavery, at least make sure that you choose the broadest possible segment that you can so you can help the most black people possible. But this ain't about helping black people. This is about Jason Johnson proving that he can help white Democrats gain and hold power.
And then on top of that, using these sort of false equivalencies to say that Joe Biden is just as bad as Donald Trump.
Ooh, false equivalencies to compare Biden to Trump. I wonder where I've heard that before. I feel like I've heard that in the last few minutes.
He is unfortunately equating the wrongs of both sides of the political equation.
Now, you notice that narrative consistency of their talking points, that you cannot compare Joe Biden to Donald Trump. Well, if you decide that you're not going to mention all the dirt that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have done, but of course, if you do that, that would be a lie, which of course is exactly what Jason Johnson does next.
Donald Trump, who in the 1970s was discriminating against people.
Notice how he doesn't say black people, he just says people. And says Donald Trump was discriminating against people. First of all, Trump was sued for housing discrimination in the 70s against black people. It was housing discrimination. Jason Johnson couldn't even figure out what the hell his talking points are. That's the height of intellectual laziness, which is part of what you have to do to be one of these black bootlicks. Donald Trump and his father excluded black people from living in their properties. And that's right, because Trump and his father are racist. And at the same time that Donald Trump was fighting to make sure that black people could not live in any real estate properties that he owned, Joe Biden, who was a senator at the time, was arguing in the Senate that black children should not be bused into schools where white children were at. So Donald Trump didn't want black folks living in his properties, and Senator Joe Biden at the exact same point in the 70s didn't want black children going to his children's schools. But Jason Johnson leaves out the part about Joe Biden. He can mention Donald Trump's racism, but if you're going to make the phony, false, lying argument that you can't compare Biden to Trump, well, you got to leave out all the dirt that Biden did. So that's what he starts off with. This is called lying by omission, but it gets worse.
Donald Trump, who in the 1980s was saying the exonerated five should be executed.
Now, again, this is where a little specificity doesn't hurt. Trump took out an ad in the New York Times, full-page ad, saying that the Central Park Five should get the death penalty. And to this day, Trump has never truly apologized for it. He certainly has not apologized to those innocent black men who he called for to be executed for a crime they never even committed. But what Jason Johnson deliberately leaves out is that in the 1980s, while Trump was taking out those false ads to punish innocent black men, Joe Biden was busy in the Senate co-sponsoring numbers of draconian federal laws aimed at targeting black men too, such as the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act. That was the law that created the 100-to-1 sentencing disparity between rock and powdered cocaine. And only a few years after Donald Trump's lying ad in the New York Times, Joe Biden wrote the '94 crime bill, which gave the states $13 billion if they would change their laws and make them as harsh as possible, as harsh as Joe Biden wanted them to be, and go after black people, especially black men. That's what Joe Biden was doing at the same time that Donald Trump was persecuting the Central Park Five. But you notice how Jason Johnson doesn't mention that. To this day, Joe Biden refuses to take any responsibility for the part that he played in turbocharging the prison industrial complex. He refuses to take any responsibility for the racism that he has been a proud proponent of for 4+ decades. To this day, Biden refuses to take any responsibility. In my last video, I told you about how just 3 nights ago he had his town hall and he was confronted on the subject of the '94 crime bill. And rather than do a mea culpa for the part that he played in mass incarceration, for spearheading mass incarceration in this country, he instead said, well, you need to be blaming the states. They were the ones who were locking up all these black people. Why? They misinterpreted the law and misused it. And he didn't say anything about the $13 billion pie that he was handing around. He didn't say anything about the fact that the states changed their laws simply because they all wanted a piece of that $13 billion pie. That was one of the requirements of the '94 crime bill. If you want to get any of that $13 billion that Joe Biden was handing out, you had to change your laws to bring them in line with the '94 crime bill requirements. He left that part out. He makes it seem like, oh, well, the states, they just were doing their own thing. No, they were doing exactly what Joe Biden wanted them to do. But he takes no responsibility for that. And Jason Johnson, and none of the rest of those panelists, they don't mention it. Joy Reid doesn't mention it. Tiffany Cross doesn't mention it. Forget about MSNBC. You might as well call it BSNBC. And this is supposed to be what counts as BSNBC's Black Show. This is the show that's supposed to be geared toward black people, and it's telling all of these lies by omission. And what makes this so damnable is you cannot be telling black people that the road to empowerment, or at least the road to better policies, runs through the Democratic Party when you're leaving out the fact that the guy who's running for president put the laws on the books that helped to turbocharge the prison industrial complex. One of the main architects of the prison industrial state has been Joe Biden, and he's now running for president. And one of his partners in crime who used the laws that he put on the books is running as his vice president. It is damnable to lie to black people and tell them that there's a difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, when the truth of the matter is, when you look at what actually got put into law, Joe Biden's far worse than Trump if you look at what happened in the legislature. Even worse when you consider that the Democrats were taking money from Donald Trump up until a few years ago. Oh, but Jason Johnson's not through with his lying by omission.
Donald Trump, who has called on white nationalists to keep black people from voting.
Have you heard anything about Donald Trump making a claim like that? I'm no Trump supporter, so I could care less really if you're lying about Trump. I'm not here to stand up for Donald Trump's honor because he has no honor. But the thing is, while you're busy talking about Donald Trump's lies, just make sure you're telling the truth about Joe Biden as well, so black people don't get fooled and tricked and deceived into thinking that they got political friends in places where they really don't. And while I'm sure that Donald Trump and the Republicans would like it if black people were politically neutralized, at least as far as voting against Republicans goes, keep in mind, Donald Trump's not the only one who has been supporting white supremacists. While Donald Trump was calling the Charlottesville Nazis very fine people, Joe Biden has been lifelong friends and been mentored by rabid segregationists like Strom Thurmond, who Joe Biden called one of my closest friends. Joe Biden lauded and praised anti-black racists like Senator Eastland. Biden boasted about having received an award from George Wallace in 1973. And Biden bragged that his state of Delaware sided with the Confederacy in the Civil War. This is who Joe Biden is. Joe Biden never met a good old boy that he didn't like, and he never met a black person that he did. But the very worst of Jason Johnson's lies by omission was yet to come, and the fact that this scumbag would have the nerve to pull this next, it just goes to show you that when it comes to the depravity and the duplicity and the lies of these black bootlicks for white supremacy, there is no bottom. Equating the death toll from COVID-19 to the Middle Passage of slavery, there seems to be no lie that's beneath them. And here's the part where he finally gets around to saying something about the deaths of black people at the hands of white supremacists with or without badges. This is what Jason Johnson says about that.
Donald Trump, whose Justice Department hasn't done anything about George Floyd, hasn't done anything about Breonna Taylor, hasn't done anything about Sandra Bland.
Again, he's right. Donald Trump has not done a damn thing about the black people who've been murdered by the police on his watch. The difference being, however, no black person in their right mind expects for Donald Trump, with his lifelong record of racism, to do anything about the police killing black people. It's no surprise to us. That doesn't make us cynical. We expect him not to do anything, and he kept his promise. He kept his word. He's never said that he would be defending black people from police violence, and he definitely held up his end of the bargain on that one. Didn't do a damn thing to protect us, and we expected no differently. However, we did expect differently when Joe Biden was vice president. The Obama administration didn't do anything about George Zimmerman or Darren Wilson or Daniel Pantaleo. Kamala Harris has refused to do anything about the murderers of Breonna Taylor. No promises or pledges there, mind you. This is totally consistent for Kamala Harris, by the way. When she was California Attorney General, she said that she refused to do anything about all the cops murdering black people in her state because she felt that that was a local issue. Yeah, she had the power to do something about it, but the local authorities should be allowed to do as they please. And I consider it particularly perverted that Jason Johnson dared to mention the murder of Sandra Bland. Donald Trump didn't become president until 2016. He didn't get sworn in until 2016. Sandra Bland was murdered in July 2015. Say, does anyone remember who was president in 2015? Better yet, do you remember who was vice president in 2015? I seem to think that it was Obama who was president and Joe Biden who was vice president. So why didn't Obama do anything about the Sandra Bland murder when he was president? Why didn't Joe Biden say anything about it? He hasn't pledged to do anything about it. Joe Biden has not made one promise that he's going to get his Justice Department to go investigate the Sandra Bland murder, much less a matter of, I'm going to make sure that somebody's punished for it. He ain't said a damn thing. Just like Kamala Harris has said nothing about promising punishment for the killers of Breonna Taylor. This is why I call these black cable bootlicks the incompetent operative class. They're so busy trying to carry out the talking points that they get from their white leftist masters, so busy trying to, as they see it, stack the deck against the idea of black folks holding their vote until someone actually earns it. They're so busy trying to heap up some lies so they can point and say, see, look at how many talking points we've got here. Why, it's just a mountain of blathering and you've got to do what we say. Now, they're so busy blathering that they don't even realize that they contradict themselves. The exact same arguments that you can make against Trump, you can make even worse ones against Biden. There's practically nothing you can point at. I'm looking to see how many laws has Donald Trump put on the books that were meant to extend the sentencing disparities between rock and powder cocaine. How many laws has Trump put on the books or fought to put on the books regarding school segregation? Where is the Trump crime bill that turbocharged the prison industrial complex? Donald Trump has been an advocate for racist policies, but Joe Biden has been somebody who actually puts them on the books and carries them out. So whatever argument you want to make against Trump, you can make far more damning accusations against Joe Biden. Donald Trump is not merely odious because of his sentiment. Joe Biden is odious because of his sentiment and his actions. He's actually put concrete actions behind his racism. If we're going to be talking about a real comparison between Biden and Trump, we got to talk about what it is that Biden's done as well. That way we can hold the bastard accountable for it, so we don't sit here voting for somebody who ain't promised us a damn thing and never holding him to account for all the stuff that he's done against us.
So for Donald Trump to reach out to Ice Cube or Steve Harvey or Jim Brown or anybody else like that and say, I'm the better option, he must think we're stupid.
No, reaching out to Ice Cube, that doesn't prove that Trump thinks that we're stupid. Now, what would be proof that Trump thinks we're dumb is that he does not make concrete promises to us that are in line with what we have demanded from him. If he says, well, go to my website if you want to see what I'm going to do for black people. Well, when it came to him talking about build the wall and other things for that white people, especially those white right-wingers, want to hear, he didn't say go to my website. He was out there pounding the pavement, screaming and yelling at all of his rallies. When it comes to black people, on the other hand, the best he can say is, you're living in hell and you need to vote for me, and what do you got to lose? Well, you're not saying what you're going to do for black people. You're just giving us the, what do you got to lose? So you're treating black people as, well, I can't be in front of these white folks saying what I'm going to do for black people. So go to my website. Just go to my website. You're treating the black polity as being some sort of dirty little secret that you prefer not to deal with. Now for Trump to be saying, vote for me, I'm not going to say what I'm going to do for you publicly. I'm going to give you some indistinct, unspecified blathering. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of that, a little bit of lip service, very vague lip service. Yeah, it would be stupid to think we're going to vote for him under those circumstances, sure. But the problem happens to be Jason Johnson's not saying what the hell Biden's going to be doing. But don't worry, they'll tell us after the election, though. You got to vote for him first to find out. Well, for Jason Johnson and his fellow desperate black bootlicks to tell us to vote for an unspecified nothing, they're the ones who think that black people are stupid. Especially if they think that we don't know what Biden has done. So Jason Johnson fails yet again, because while he points out what Trump hasn't done, which is easy to do, Trump is a walking endorsement against himself, Johnson thinks that we don't know that just a few years ago it was Biden telling us what he couldn't do. And even now, Biden's still telling us what he's not going to do. Johnson thinks that if he doesn't mention this, then we won't think of it, that nobody's going to bring it up. Well, if we relied on liars like Tiffany Cross to give us the facts, he would be right. But we have the new black media to bring the truth. Because the facts are, there's no good guys in this election. There's no good guys in this fight. When it comes to black people, Biden is every bit as racist as Trump, possibly more so. The similarities between Biden and Trump far outweigh the differences. They may have some slight rhetorical variance, though you couldn't tell by listening most of the time, but none of these Negro bootlicks ever points that out, because they want you to think that by voting for Biden, you're going to get someone who's not an anti-black racist, and that's a lie. Biden is an anti-black racist. He is a dyed-in-the-wool white supremacist, has been his entire life. He is a coward and a pervert and a liar. But Jason Johnson conveniently leaves out all of that. And neither Tiffany Cross nor anyone else on that panel even mentioned this, because this was a poorly disguised DNC pep rally pretending to be a news segment. A pro-Biden ad in drag that doesn't even have the decency to admit to what it is. But as the black media, we've smartened our people up. The days of getting away with this kind of nonsense propaganda are over. These chumps that you see here, they're the left wing of white supremacy's incompetent operative class. The safe Negroes who depend on the white media to help them make a living, and mostly through useless speaking engagements, and to help them hawk their books. And they'll gladly lie because that's the job. And speaking of jobs, that's what they're hoping to get. They're hoping to swing a political patronage job for themselves. A White House press secretary gig, a staffing job, be a staffer for some congressman or senator or a governor, anything. Right now they see themselves as being on the cable news chitlin circuit, and they need somebody to give them a job. You see, we're out here demanding the tangibles that our people need. And white power has told these bootlick puppets to get us off of those demands. You got to get these niggers off of those demands that they're making. We can't have this be a regular part of the political discourse. Go ahead and call them fringe. Say that, well, whatever you're demanding, the Democrats have already done it, or at least it's already on the drawing board. And, you can't demand that Joe Biden propose anything. Proposing things is the main job that a candidate has. Their main job is to propose what they're going to do. But you had Jamil Smith say, you can't. Why are you asking him to propose anything? Because that's his job as a candidate. You can't ask him to propose anything. I mean, the contempt is absolutely palpable here. But these black bootlicks, they're lying and claiming that the Democrats are already doing what we said when they know damn well they're not. But you know what else we know? These morons are talking. God knows they talk, but nobody's listening. Tiffany Cross, she decided that now the segment needed to be wrapped up. She wanted to go ahead and she wanted to make certain that they came right up the middle with their contempt for Ice Cube, which is actually a proxy for their contempt for the black grassroots. All these black people who are putting pressure on the Democrats, and by extension putting pressure on these black bootlicks by proving that they can't control the black polity. These niggers are out of control and these bootlicks have failed to calm the niggers down. Well, here's what Tiffany Cross had to say about that. But I gotta warn you before you listen to it, she's got a really nasal, high-pitched voice, so might want to cover your ears or turn down the volume just a touch.
I mean, I think that's the frustrating part, right? Because the Congressional Black Caucus has a very comprehensive plan. Our friend Alicia Garza, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, has a very comprehensive plan. So the hubris that Ice Cube, am going to come in and save the day for Black America. And he, quite frankly, looked a little out of his league when Roland Martin was pressing him on some of these issues. And I encourage everybody to watch that interview with Roland Martin. Right. It was great.
Did you get all that? Oh, she's frustrated because you see, the Congressional Black Caucus, they've got a plan. So it's great to see MSNBC trying to dust off the desiccated husk of H.R. 40. But you notice how Tiffany Cross called this Garza woman our friend. And all of them started nodding when she said that. Our friend Garza, blah, 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 blah. Wow. So what does that tell you? What that tells you is the people who ain't been doing a damn thing to actually move the doggone needle for black tangibles, these are the friends of the black bootlicks on cable TV. These idiots are mobbed up with each other. This is no accident, no coincidence that these guys are all arrayed against us. This happens to be an organized affront by a bunch of organized bootlicks. So you see, ain't nothing random about this. All of these clowns work for the exact same master, whether it's Jason Johnson, whether it's Joy Reid, Tiffany Cross, Jamil Smith. All these guys are mobbed up together doing white supremacy's bidding. And the bidding is to keep us contained and undermined. Our friend indeed. Well, she's no friend of black empowerment. That's for dang sure. None of them are. And talking about this Garza woman, yet another one of these hand-picked nobodies who white supremacy has plucked from obscurity, some chump you never heard of, some nobody who they're trying to promote. These are the politically reliable lapdogs that white supremacy's been trying to put forward as being some sort of phony baloney black grassroots. But of course, the only thing they're interested in is LGBT this, climate that. Oh, what about the environment? What about feminism? What about abortion? Abortion is something that black folks are really, the black vote hinges on abortion, don't you know? Black people are really concerned about transgender bathrooms. The black vote will hinge on who has the best, boldest plan for transgender bathrooms. That's what these people are presenting. They're trying to take some of these clowns, these LGBT activists. This is their last gasp to try to make these chumps into a thing. They failed with DeRay McKesson, so I guess this Garza woman, she's next on deck. And this is damned to fail too. You're not going to nominate who black leaders are. We're following the code, not any of these black bootlicks. You can give it up. But listen to what she says. I mean, she shows absolutely no respect for Ice Cube whatsoever, and that's the entire point. This is what the white media masters that she serves told her to do. You can't just get out there and say that you disagree with him. You gotta really run Ice Cube into the ground, because you gotta run him and the people online who sound like him. You need to run them into the dirt. Look, the hubris. No, the hubris of a bunch of worthless, irrelevant, talking, chattering mouths, a bunch of bought and paid for bootlicks on cable TV who ain't achieved a damn thing for black folks and they're living off the crumbs the white media gives them. The hubris of a Tiffany Cross thinking that she can speak for us. That's the hubris. That's the pride and the arrogance that we will not tolerate. And by the way, since I know that Tiffany Cross and her pals probably listening to this too, I got a message for you, Miss Cross. I didn't know who you were before this segment aired, and you've already blown any chance you might have had at being credible. The Congressional Black Caucus is a pack of sellouts whose job is to pacify black people into inaction. And the black media has already long since destroyed that H.R. 40 fraud. And on a side note, H.R. 40's been out there for 30 years, Miss Cross. You didn't know that because you don't really do research. I know research ain't really big for black shills because you don't get punished for being wrong. Democrats have had control of both houses of Congress several times since H.R. 40 was first proposed. The last time that the Democrats controlled the executive and the legislative branch in total was the first 2 years that Barack Obama was in office. But instead of discussing H.R. 40, the Democrats couldn't even bring that to the floor. Instead, they obsessed over universal health care, the Lydia Ledbetter Act, gay marriage, things that were of interest to their real constituents, white people. H.R. 40 was totally ignored, and the Congressional Black Caucus didn't seem to be too displeased by that. I guess it's because a disproportionate number of the Congressional Black Caucus are immigrants or the children of immigrants. As far as they're concerned, anything about reparations, that is not going to help us. So the Dems have had every chance to take up the issue, and they haven't. Oh, but Tiffany Cross, she's got a plan to save black America. She's going to come in here and save black America by getting our minds right. Tiffany Cross is going to get us straight. She's going to come in here with a cape on and play Superman. She's going to be caping for white supremacy. And she tells us this time it'll be different. Sure, the Democrats ain't done a damn thing regarding a black agenda since the freaking 60s, but this time will be different. Again, you notice that not one of her guests points out what I just told you. They all act like the Democrats have just been gung-ho to push for black people's tangibles and why the Democrats haven't had control of both houses of Congress before now. You see how much these parasites leave out whenever you let them tell the story? Well, Tiffany Cross, this is why young black people don't listen to you or any of the other black bootlicks in the white media. And we're the black voters that you need to reach if you're going to have any influence with the black community. You want to call yourself getting control of Congress? You want to call yourself holding on to Congress? We're the people that you have to sway. And we're not listening to you. Well, except to expose your lies. We'll listen long enough to point out your lies, but we're not doing anything you say, and you're not going to tell us what to think. We will tell you what the facts are. Since you seem incapable of accepting the facts or speaking the truth, we're going to tell you what the facts are. And you can either report that, or you can remain irrelevant. Because the white media can give you a platform, but they cannot give you legitimacy. The new voices of black media, we're the ones who speak for the streets. You speak for whatever white media or white Democrat benefactor you're hoping to get some crumbs from. And by the way, for you to praise Roly-Poly Martin, you have no idea how dumb that makes you look. Nobody takes him seriously. And for you to praise him, that marks you as being equally laughable. And while you're busy singing Roly-Poly Martin's praises and saying that he does a great segment, he don't do a damn great anything. You might want to pay attention to how Roly-Poly wound up in the position that he's in. If there's one thing that all of you black cable nitwits need to learn from Roly-Poly Martin, it's that being a bootlick is a career path that doesn't come with a retirement plan. White supremacy has no permanent plans for any of its black mouthpieces. That includes you too, Tiffany Cross. See, that's the lesson you should have taken away from Roly-Poly Martin. Instead, the lesson that you took away from it was, well, when white supremacy seems to have put you out in the cold, just keep begging, just keep begging. Yeah, roly-poly's trying to keep hope alive, or should I say he's trying to keep dope alive, because he's the biggest dope in the room, thinking the white supremacy is going to be calling him back up to the majors anytime soon. They've got him exactly where they want him. Black people are standing in their own power, and we're speaking our own minds, and you don't like that, do you, Tiffany Cross? She's frustrated. Why should she be frustrated? Black people are spelling out their demands, and it's loud enough to be heard. It's part of the political discussion, what we have been fighting for over a decade now, telling you that we were going to take control of the political discourse within the black community. I told you that over a decade ago. That was the stated mission of B1, that we were going to take control of the political discourse within the black community, and we have done it. And you see that the black mouthpieces on cable TV, they're frustrated. You see what frustrates me? Yeah, Miss Cross, you are frustrated, and it's easy to see why, because you're scared. You're absolutely helpless in the face of black people speaking and acting for ourselves. You're scared of where this trend is going, because you know that if this is what young black people are doing, hell, this is going to be decades of this. It's only going to get worse, and you're right. You can see where the trend is going, and you're helpless to stop it. No wonder you're frustrated. You don't have an answer for this. You can't get us off of this one. No amount of attacking or shame, attempting to shame us, all that nonsense, that ain't going to work. You guys are just sitting around whining it, forming a circular firing squad, basically. You clowns are sitting there with your joint chorus of complaint. Nothing but whining as a group about how black people don't listen to you. Yes, what's happening is black people are making it very clear. Our ballot is up for auction. And we are going to spell out the terms by which the highest bidder gets it. You don't tell us what it's going to be. We tell you what it's going to be. You know, I was taught that that's supposed to be democracy, but apparently the clowns over at BSNBC, the black bootlicks there, they say that that's not practical. Yeah, because running in circles for 60 years, hoping that the Democrats discover religion and finally actually do some of the stuff that they have been vaguely alluding to. Oh, that's been so practical for the last 3 generations. I mean, it's been so helpful. We've gotten so much out of it, right? You see, the black bootlicks, the black boule class, the black would-be head Negroes in charge, you know, like the Tiffany Crosses and the Jamil Smiths and the rest of the fakers, frauds, phonies, and fools, the Jason Johnsons, the clowns who depend on the white media for speaking fees and hopefully hawk a book. They've been getting something from us running in circles, but the black masses, we ain't been getting a damn thing. So they're fine with, as far as they're concerned, why, we've been making great progress. I don't know about y'all, we doing great over here. We don't take cues from the DNC hierarchy or anyone else. We're putting forward our own interests on our own terms. And you're not going to talk us out of this agenda. You're not going to shame us out of it. You're not going to badmouth us. You're not going to single us out for particular rebuke and think that's going to change a damn thing. The threat of black empowerment is rising. And since we've closed our ears to the white media's puppets, you have no say to stop this. So I understand why you're frustrated, Tiffany Cross. You bought into your own line of bull about the power of the white media and about your place in that white media. You thought you were a shot caller. Yeah, MSNBC puts you on air and some people tell you, oh, I saw you on TV, and you feel like a big shot now. Oh, when you speak, people listen because you think that you're part of the team. You're on team white supremacy. For the longest time, if you were on the white media's airwaves, or if they put your column in print, that meant you had a total monopoly over the public mind, especially the black public mind. Because black people are oversampled when it comes to watching TV. So if you're on TV, ooh, you know black folks saw that, and you get to dictate to black people what's right and what's wrong. Oh, we're going to attack Ice Cube and that ideology of black empowerment only for the former slaves that he's pointing. Oh, we're going to show people that that's wrong. You need to be, Ice Cube. You know, I'm so frustrated and imagine the hubris from this guy. Have you ever seen them attack any of these people on the alt-right like that? Have you ever seen them talk about any of these other people like that? No, but that's the whole point. What they're pointing out is we're making it very clear that we're going to have some black folks on air attacking Ice Cube and the agenda and the stance that he's taken. And we want black people to think that that's the right way to go. We want black people to think this is what you should be thinking too. Because that's what the white media does. They put on these little TV shows. And the name of the little side show that they had on this weekend was the Ice Cube is not practical and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And, oh, roly-poly, Martin schooled him, didn't he? That's the name of the show. It's total lies. I showed you how basically the only way that you can think that Joe Biden is different from Donald Trump is if you just totally ignore everything that Joe Biden's done. And notice how even Jason Johnson couldn't tell you what good that Joe Biden had done. He doesn't tell you what good, because it's a matter of when you look at Joe Biden's record, when you start talking about it, where you got to bring up the fighting school busing, you got to bring up the backhanding and the handshakes and the hugs and the mentoring by white supremacist segregationists, and you got to bring up the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act and the 94 Crime Bill and the being a shameless apologist for the prison industrial complex. Oh, forget about apologist. He was a shameless proponent of it. He was a cheerleader for it. He was one of the main architects of it. So you can't really mention Joe Biden's record, so just don't do it. Just talk about Trump and just leave it at that. And that's what Tiffany Cross, that's what she used to think was the status quo. Thought to themselves that basically we're going to get away with it because nobody's going to call us to account. You could just say whatever lie you wanted, or you could just leave out whatever truth was inconvenient to your narrative, and it was fine because no one could call you on it. And if anyone did disagree, well, they didn't matter because they didn't have a voice loud enough to be heard. But now the monopoly is broken. There's voices out here speaking the truth, exposing the lies, telling the people who you are and why you're pushing all of these falsehoods. Yeah, Tiffany Cross, your job, as your white media masters have put it to you, is to control black people and keep us running in circles while we're getting our people off the treadmill. And if you can't control black people, well, what the hell does the white media need you for? And that's why you're frustrated. You're talking, but fewer and fewer black people are listening. And you understand that if this trend can't be stopped now, early, if you can't find a way to just broadside attack this standpoint and to be able to shame black people back into acquiescence, well, in that case, then the whole damn apple cart gets upset. And this is the future that you're staring at. One where there won't even be a pretense that you have any black constituency or audience listening to you. The older black folks, the 55 to dead demo, they're dying off. And all of these younger black folks, they've got contempt for you. Well-deserved contempt. You're in a situation where you have to actually defend your lies, and you can't. That's your frustration. The new voices of black media are holding you to account. You can't just tell lies and walk away, because we're here to fact-check you. And the best part about it is, you don't have the ability to be able to stack the deck with some panel of yes men who are going to say exactly what you all agreed to say before the cameras started rolling. Because that's how this works. These guys talk to each other before the segment airs and they get their talking points straight. And just in case they're like Jason Johnson, in case you're too dense to understand what to say, don't worry, the DNC emails you the talking points to say for the day. So these guys were acting out their political script. And we're here to shoot it down. Oh, we know that Tiffany Cross and the rest of those bootlicks can't go against their white media masters. You all want a job from them. Well, over here in the black media, we don't. As the warrior scholar Khalid Muhammad said, I don't want a job from you. I don't want money from you. I don't want a contract from you. I don't even want contact with you. See, over here, we're free to speak the truth because we don't want anything from BS NBC or false news. We're not hoping in vain to get a White House press secretary job or a do-nothing staff position as a reward for selling our people out. We don't want to be the next Herman Cain or the next Donna Brazil. Damn sure don't want to be the next Roland Martin or the next Joy Reid. We're educating our people that as black folks, we are not an auxiliary of either political party. As the descendants of American slaves, as foundational black Americans, as the survivors of slavery in America, whatever phrase you want to use, except for a dunce. We are a group, and groups don't have friends. Groups have interests. And for far too long, our interests have been undermined by white supremacy's black bootlicks, who they have sent among us to sow the seeds of discord and to tell us lies and mislead us and disrupt whatever it is we're trying to do. These fools were sent by white supremacy for the sake of trying to disrupt us. No more. These clowns understand that there's no way that they can actually be talking to the new voices of black media, not on air. The entire point is to have a monologue, not a dialogue. Their job is to promote what the left arm of white supremacy wants. Just even talking to us, the fact that if they even made that mistake, they would be roadkill in an argument. They don't have any response or answer for the truths that we bring. As far as they're concerned, they ain't even getting close to it. You know what? That's fine. We reach more people than they do. And as they're showing through Tiffany Cross's frustration, we are having a greater impact. As I told Jason Johnson's raggedy behind on Twitter, I'm not going to argue with you. Why should I? My side is winning. So this is what we see from the white media, and expect for them to intensify it. These guys are proudly cheerleading for Joe Biden to pursue a non-black constituency, and that being the case, that tells you everything you need to know about these black experts. They are not here to represent black empowerment. Jason Johnson decided, let me give you the rundown of all of Trump's racism. I'm not going to say anything about Biden's because I need you to vote for Biden, but Biden's just as bad as Trump, if not worse. Just vote for him anyway. Jamil Smith says you can't be expecting Biden to propose anything, even though that's the main thing that politicians who are running for office are supposed to do. Oh, you can't even propose. You can't even ask for a proposal. No, that's the hubris, Tiffany Cross. You guys might get a pat on the back from whatever white producer or white editor or white showrunner that you're carrying water for. Oh, you might get the occasional nice email from some staffer claiming to be Nancy Pelosi because they ain't actually going to talk to you. But when it comes to the black grassroots, the ones who you actually need to be able to fool if you're going to have any chance of influencing elections, we give your little sideshow thumbs down. Because you can keep your white media masters happy all you want. They're not the ones who are threatening white supremacy. So for them to give you a pat on the back means nothing. We're the ones who you have to fool. We're the ones you're trying to deceive. We're the ones who you're trying to disrupt and otherwise undermine. How's that working out for you? Do you see what we're saying getting quieter and shrinking into irrelevance, or is it louder now than it's ever been? And you better believe a year from now, it will be even louder than this. Oh, this is just the beginning. So Tiffany Cross, if you think that you're frustrated now, just keep on watching. The black grassroots are going to make you really hot under the collar.